Blackpool? Puh! Everybody knows that the king of all amusement parks was Belle Vue, right here in Manchester. In this, the second instalment in our series of A Sense of Place, we find out why it was part and parcel of so many people's lives here in Greater Manchester. We'll take some calls after the programme if you want, so call us with your memories on 0161 228 2255. What did you get up to in Belle Vue? And has there ever been anything to beat it in Greater Manchester? Ever?
After just 5 minutes' drive along the A57 out of Manchester city centre, you'll find yourself in a sprawling area of car auction rooms, cinemas, housing estates, and the bingo. You couldn't exactly call it a beautiful vision, but for generations of Mancunians, the place means something very special, and something well worth searching for. Only Lockhart Close gives some indication of what once stood there.
This here is a photograph, an aerial photograph of Belle Vue. Roughly, you can see the huge lake still there. So we're going back inside and try and get a fix on just where we are. And we're now going to do a left at the Longside pub, going up Hyde Road into the Showcase Cinema car park. I'm looking to a Bracewell Street. What on earth? Where have they got Why couldn't they call it Lion Walk or what? Or something. This here was the main entrance.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Belle Vue Circus. You will see things that will amaze and astound you, and animals from the four corners of the globe. For 140 years, Belle Vue has delighted and entertained you and can rightly be called the showground of the world. So don't delay and step this way for an evening of unrivaled entertainment.
For Josie Warden, it was the highlight of the year.
We didn't have any holidays, but we had this day at Belle Vue. Word would go round, my mum's going to Belle Vue, behave yourself, don't get into any trouble, don't do anything. We went by train from Hanforth. We were all so excited. It was, you can imagine 10 to 12 children, all never going very far. Going by train itself was a thing on it, was exciting. We had to do the same thing each time. We always had to see the animals.
Belle Vue Gardens was opened by John Jennison in 1836, and by 1931, 2 million people had passed through its turnstiles. It was a grand day out for families for miles around. They always say, never work with children or animals. Belle Vue somehow managed to cope with both, in large numbers. Maybe that's why it was the kind of place where almost anything could happen. Len Duckett used to stay with his friend Neil. From Neil's house, you could see right into Belle Vue.
He woke up in the morning with the dawn chorus of all these animals.
Yeah.
The birds, the roar of the lions.
The elephant.
The elephant. The dawn chorus. All over the world it's the dawn chorus. When you wake up yourself, you go, oh, you have a stretch. So do lions, and so do tigers, and so do elephants. And the birds. We woke up in the morning to these sounds. And you could be on the Serengeti plain. We weren't, we were alongside. I worked on the railway, and one of the chaps that worked with me, God rest his soul, he's died now, and he used to like his drink. And one Sunday morning, it's about 5 to 7, he came into the clock and he went, are there any nothings on Kirkman's Lane? I said, no. He said, oh, it must have been them bloody penguins then. It was 3 penguins stood at the bus stop.
Belle Vue Zoo was the oldest in the country, and its amusement park was massive. Blackpool, eat your heart out. The white-knuckle rides were the fastest in the world. Derek Adrian worked at Belle Vue as a sign writer. He can still remember the thrill of the fabled bobs.
It was a bit like when you're a child and you're going to Blackpool and you look for the tower from miles, this little dot on the horizon, you look. Well, with Belle Vue, you look for the bobs, and that came into view, you knew that you were going to enjoy yourself the rest of the day.
We only had one of the boys that my mum took with her went on the bobs. Nobody else had the courage to do it. Not one person ever went on except this one boy. And they come whizzing, when you stood there watching, they come whizzing round in the it's amazing thing, really. We went on the scenic railway. That wasn't as long as the bobs, but there was a couple of very, very deep scoops down. And you sort of sit on the top and go, oh! And then you'd shoot down and up the other side, and then that was it. But I think there was only 2 of them, but the bobs seemed to go on forever. It was magic.
Say what you liked best about it.
Well, I liked where you're simply going right off the edge. I think it's top of the bill. And you?
What did you like best about it?
Well,
You see, there are some things that can't be put into words. What people are looking for is something outside their ordinary experience.
John Jennison's vision proved a stunning recipe for success. It more than lived up to his motto of providing the punters with novelty. Always novelty.
Truman, you've just had your fortune told, is that right? Yes, that's right. What did you do? I just put the coin in and out came the card with my fortune on it.
Oh, I see. And what sort of things did it say?
Oh, it says that I was in love and love for the opposite sex.
We were getting 16 then, looking for the girls and stuff. And that's when the House of Nonsense come in. Small dark passages. And if you were lucky, you caught a girl and give her a big kiss. I always caught a fella.
Oh, yes. I've had it done several times, and twice it's come true.
It has. What sort of things have come true?
They told me my husband was going to have a rise. That came true.
And, of course, the circus, hosted for 43 years by ringmaster George Lockhart. And later, Norman Barrett provided, as advertised, incomparable sensations of circus stardom.
There I always remember an escapologist dangling from a rope. He had a huge tank underneath him which he had to plunge into, and they put petrol on the top and set fire to it. Eventually, I think he was in a straitjacket. He had to get out of that, and then he loosened his feet and fell into this, the water, which immediately he hit the water full of flames. It extinguished the fire.
She only got a bathing costume on. She got in at the end, like a square at the end, and she sort of went in long ways into the block of ice. And we were sort of nearly holding our breaths for her, watching her we sat there watching this woman in this block of ice. I went up and touched it, it was ice. I don't know how she did it, because she'd only got a bathing costume on. I don't know if she did that every day, I suppose she did.
How many have you got?
I have 7 at the moment, and I need at least 20 to keep my show going.
Where do you get them from?
Well, I do rely upon the public. Considering this is the only flea circus left in Great Britain, I think the public could help me if they wanted to. But it's really alarming, the shortage of fleas. It's a shocking affair. And I have to find the fleas that jump, fleas that will walk, fleas that will hold things for me, such as the duelists or the juggling flea or the tightrope walker. And the hopping fleas, they are naturally the ballerinas, the ballet dancers.
Music and dancing was everywhere at Belle Vue. For May Hassel, it was all part and parcel of growing up.
I used to go dancing with my mum and dad, and I learned to dance in the Elizabethan ballroom in Belle Vue. All the big bands used to go, of course. It was great.
They used to do brass band concerts there and brass band competitions. The judges were intense, because if it was Black Dyke or we know them, they're brilliant. It influences them. So what they used to do, they kept them in little tents, and all they did, they heard the music, didn't see anybody.
Right, yeah.
It could be anybody, and that's how they judged it, and they judged it on the sound only. Because, well, like you say, it could be Dog Cross or it could be Black Dykes or whoever. Yeah. To win that was like the blue ribbon.
Yeah, it was.
There was lots of competitions we did there.
Oh, I think it does. Dancing.
The Railway Queen. Do you remember that one there?
Railway Queen.
Yeah.
That was another one.
You could catch the classics there too. From 1942, the Halley Orchestra played regular concerts at Belle Vue's King's Hall. Their celebrated conductor, John Barbarolli, felt it was inevitable that excellence in entertainment should happen in Manchester.
Always I find that the nerve centre of the highest activity generally takes place in rather drab cities. For instance, the nerve centre of music in Italy is in Milan. And you feel if you achieve anything here, that you've really achieved it. Soon after I'd arrived, I was conducting in Hanley. And somebody asked for an autograph during the interval, and I said, no, would I mind coming at the end of the concert? And it turned out that it was a young soldier boy who had to get back to his unit. He couldn't stay till the end, so I said, of course, bring him in. So he came, and he took my hand and shook it in a grip of iron, and he says, wonderful concert, sir, so far. And I never forgot that. He wasn't going to, the first half had been all right, but he wasn't going to commit himself. And I'm glad I heard that early in my career in the North. I thought, do you think to care? Damn, I came from New York or anywhere else. I was now in Manchester. And people don't like coming to Manchester for conductors of important orchestras, but they've had to.
From classical music to the birth of pop music, Belle Vue had it all. And for Teddy Boy Len, and later his daughter Doreen Jones, it was an essential part of the weekend.
Belle Vue on a Saturday night was a must. But where the Dodgem cars were, on the corner of the King's Hall, was a big tannoy system. And there was a big speaker, massive big speaker, and that's where we used to congregate around there and jive. It was always rock and roll music, because that was the 60s, that was us. Like Jimmy Savile was there with his Teen and 20 disc club. We were the boys, you know, the drapes, the velvet collars,
he wasn't famous
slant pockets.
The hair. You see, you would get his hairstyle.
He's had that for years.
He's not come out of it.
Not yet.
It was only last week that a friend
called drain pipe.
Drain pipes, where I used to, do you remember I used to sew mine?
Yeah.
Like,
Inch and a half crepe soles.
You see, we thought wedges were the in thing, didn't we, in the 70s?
Generations of people saw countless stars perform in the King's Hall, from Doris Day to the Rolling Stones. Hordes of screaming girls caught the Bay City Rollers and Rod Stewart. But it was the birth of these large concerts which perhaps gave an indication that Belle Vue's facilities weren't quite ready to keep up with the times.
One of my biggest memories was when T-Rex came to play at one night at the King's Hall, and they recruited some of the lads from the grounds as stage security. We went there that night, and we sent a stage right at the front, and our job was to keep anybody from getting on the stage. It was frightening, because immediately all these hundreds and hundreds of people behind you, you know, teenagers, all surged forward, and you couldn't breathe. There was no air. It was frightening. The temperature rose dramatically, but nobody got on stage.
Belle Vue had always staged sporting events from 1929 until the Second World War. It was known as the boxing mecca of Europe.
Of course, there were all sorts of things going on in the King's Hall. I saw my first boxing match, but I didn't like that. I fainted, in fact, because I saw blood.
Seconds out, and they're waiting for the bell to send them into actions to come out fighting.
In the winter, we used to go to the wrestling.
It still was. A lot of it was rehearsed moves, but there was none of this hitting people with chairs and ladders and lumps of wood and what have you. I think the worst we ever got was Jack Pye giving 2 fingers to the audience because they used to boo him, and he was the big draw. When Jack Pye was fighting, it was always full. There was Billy Two Rivers, who was a Mohican Indian, because he had the Mohican haircut, just like David Beckham had, and he came from Charlton on Medlock. I used to sit at the back, and Jack used to say, go on then, and I used to, at the top of my voice, I go, wheel and in! And everybody used to wait for me shouting at him. And another one, when he had somebody's arm right up the back, I used to say, Mass, pull it off and smack him over the head with a sluggy end. But that was years and years ago, but that was good fun.
This match here at Belle Vue, it's developing into almost what one might call a massacre. The riders come up to the starting line now, immediately below us. All set to go. The motors.
The Belle Vue Aces, Manchester Speedway team. They were world champions in the 30s and again in the 60s. Speedway drew thousands and proved to be quite a matchmaking experience.
I used to go to the Speedway regularly. I then took my little brother, who was 5 years younger than me, and we went to the Speedway during the war years. And then in 1947, I met my husband, well, the man who was going to be my husband there. But I worked with a girl at Telephone House whose boyfriend worked at Metrovix. And Ron had just been demobbed from the Navy and gone back to work at Metrovix with John, who was Jean's boyfriend. They brought him. He had a motorbike and they had a motorbike. Well, I only lived over the Belle Vue wall. He didn't know that. But he did take me on his motorbike. And, that was it. We were married in 1950. Yeah, I didn't even know he was coming. I'd no idea. It was just one of those things. I was already going out with an airman at the time, but he was away.
In 1987, the Speedway Stadium was sold and the Belle Vue Aces moved to the Greyhound Stadium, a place that bridges the gap between Belle Vue then and Belle Vue now. Dorothy Wood has always had the best seat in the house, table 51, right by the winning line. But then she's a bit of a regular.
Running.
The very first race I was here, I was 2 years old then. I don't remember it. And now we're getting my grandchildren into it. I asked Mr. Gilbert once, I said, can I have my ashes thrown over here? He thought I meant it. I don't think the family would be very pleased.
In 1925, when we originally started greyhound racing, Mum worked there for a very short while as a kennel maid. And one of the things that she used to have to do was wash the dog's feet after a race, because he'd get sand in the paws. But Tony's mad on the dogs now.
And there's bingo to be played and films to go and see, pizzas and burgers to be chomped. But somehow it's not the same.
Yeah, we don't go now. It's not Belle Vue anymore, really, to us.
The Belle Vue Aces carry on, and the word Belle Vue carries on. But as regards what's left, anything else connected with the old place, not a lot really. Everything is gone.
There's lots of people you talk to and think, oh, it couldn't have been that good. But it was that good. It was that place that was magical.
What the Free Trade Hall is to the Halley, Old Trafford is to Lancashire, Main Road is to Manchester City, and Chips are to Chip Butties, so Belle Vue is to Manchester's Winter Circus. Inseparable. You can't have one without the other. Tomorrow night, though, Belle Vue closes, and so the circus leaves town.
It's hard to imagine now that this was once billed as the greatest showground in the world. In the 1950s, Belle Vue was bought by a man called Charles Forte, who used it to turn his organisation into a public company. But the rise of television and alternative forms of entertainment made attendances fall, and by the 1970s, high costs forced the zoo to close and later the fun fair. 2 years ago, Belle Vue was sold to a property speculator for £2.2 million, and almost immediately the Wimpy organisation bought a third of it for £1 million. And now the rest, and after all it is a prime site only 2 miles from the centre of Manchester, is earmarked for housing and factory development.
When they decided to close the zoo in 1977, my brother was born. I thought, because it'd been such a big part in my life, I thought there's no way that he can say to people he never went to Belle Vue. So he'd be about 5 or 6 months old, and I put him in his big silver cross pram, and off we set from Reddish, walked all the way down to Belle Vue, down Hyde Road and everything. And I took him in, took him round all the animals, sat him up in his pram and shown them all to him, just so that he could turn around and say, yes, I went to Belle Vue. He doesn't remember it.
It's weird the way everyone goes on about it.
It was
It's like your opinion of the dogs. How much you get?
I love the dogs.
You get excitement out of it, and you enjoy going.
It's like a fix, the dogs, to me. I have to go or £120 a night on bets easily. Never come out up, always down. But me and you go, don't we? Sometimes my girlfriend goes out and me and Doreen go out with the kids. It's a nightmare, isn't it?
It's a nightmare, but we enjoy ourselves.
you know,
we're trying to entertain them because it's not always in the winter what they want to do is to sit inside and watch the dogs on the screen. And we're like trying to pacify them long enough to stay in.
I think the equivalent would be going to Disneyland almost now to how we felt. And we used to charge from one amusement to the other, see what the next one had in store. Today you'd have to say, "You don't move from here, you don't move." But she wasn't like that. She never did that.
Go out, enjoy yourselves. But where are they going to go out
There's
and enjoy
nowhere for them
themselves?
to go. We noticed that with our children.
There's nothing. I mean, if
There's
you
nothing
talk
for the
about going to the
children.
pictures, it costs you more than an hour's wages for a lot of people to go and watch one picture.
But it's like...
It costs you more than 2 days' wages to go out as a family of 4 to most attractions now.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They can't afford it today.
The problem is with the dogs, though, the more you go, the more you want to... There's no buzz with £1, where there was the first time we went.
And the more you spend.
Greyhound now been placed into the starting traps. As running. The Greyhounds bounce away to the opening corner we go. 3 in the centre.
Oh, 6 is away. It's gone. 6 is gone. Look at that, it's won it by a mile. Oh, has it? Go on, team. What did it tell you? What I said to you to have your bet? 6.
2 and 6.
Team. We didn't win in that anyway. Luke. What happened, big man? That's what happens when you run off.
I had to tell them what seat I was at and what my name was and my middle name.
You clever boy, and you knew straight away. We knew who you was because you told them your name. Good boy. Go and sit there where Suey's bag is, and then I know where you are. Got colouring. Do you have 6 in that, Dan?
It was a real family affair. Bonfire night, they used to have an enormous Guy Fawkes, larger than life, much larger than life. And hundreds and hundreds, I should think, thousands of people used to go to Bonfire there and watch the Guy Fawkes burn. I went as a child with the family, and then we went with our family as they grew up. If it was still there, I'm quite sure my son would take his children, yeah.
50p reverse 2.6, pound reverse 1.3, 50p reverse 5 and 6, and that'll do me for now.
£5 altogether.
Okay.
Have you not done it all?
No, I can't do it all now.
Oh, right.
To do it as I go.
Have you given it him?
Give it all. I've got it all. Coming here with all the family for me is always a nightmare. Running around all night, getting everyone's bets, and my mum asked Luke on a Friday night, so we get a night out on a Friday.
The people have changed that come, because at one time, you get some rowdy ones now. Well, years ago they would be told by the other patrons to be quiet.
They wouldn't let you in without a tie, and you had to be quiet.
Something's been lost. But what? The smelly lions? Yesterday's innocence? The grand idea of a family day out? Or just the fact that you could be out all day for a shilling? 5 pence, Blackpool's still there, of course, but everyone chooses package holidays instead. Still, like Belle Vue, you can always go to the dogs.
It's a good night out, but you look around and you think, are the people being deprived because some people are betting money that they haven't really got? I had that problem when I was a kid. My father was a gambler, but you know, it worries me sometimes, and you think, well, you know, they'll always tell you when they win, but they never tell you when they lose. But there must be one or two here who are spending the wages instead of taking them home to the families, because it does happen, because it happened with me when I was a kid. Belle Vue before was about enjoying yourself. It was a cheap night out. You could go out, you didn't have to drink. It was just a crack, just being here. Just being in Belle Vue was the Saturday night out. It's, you know, it's the end of an era, really. This is all that's left. So it used to stretch from Kirkman's Zoom Lane on one side right the way down to Hunter's Lane on the other end. But never mind, life goes on. Here we go. Oh, Susan's going for 3 and she's shouts for 4-3.
Please, what about?
Come
on, 3!
Jennison's beautiful vision, wonderful Belle Vue, fairground, wrestling, dancing, speedway, fireworks and zoo, playground of the city, attractions galore, roll up, something for everyone and then some more. Cue to view the animals, watch caged lions pace their sad and lonely scrutiny of every gaping face, see the humps upon the camel, the bouncing kangaroo, the acrobatic antics of the monkeys at the zoo. While in the canvas brilliance of the crowded wrestling hall, there is a breathless wait for 3 submissions and a fall. And sweet little old ladies who wouldn't hurt a fly scream colourful expletives at the villainous Jack Pie. On Speedway track, the engines throttle, splutter, rev and spark, as tyres cinder shards in eyes, whilst in the pleasure park, slot machines stand ready to whiz with spinning balls. Then overarching all, the fabled Bobs rides high. And in the clattering carriages, the patrons wonder why they ever dreamt this might be fun, and grip bars knuckle white as stomachs heave and turn and lurch and loop the loop with fright. In the concert hall, the mighty Halley weaves its spell, but no concerto in the world can manage to dispel the aroma of the elephant, the boogie of the band, where couples dance a quick step or wander hand in hand to watch the silver plumes and showers of gold and red as rockets soar to brilliant heights of splendour overhead. Oh, beautiful vision. The Bookies Avenue, where we are still going to the dogs. Wonderful Belle Vue.
You've got memories of Belle Vue? You can ring in.
Bay Tree Lane, Middleton, up near British Vita. That's where we did. We found out where you're from, didn't we?
Yeah.
All right. What are your memories on Belle Vue, Barbara?
Oh, I remember going dancing and to the wrestling and to the zoo.
Get off.
And the fireworks and the greyhounds.
Yeah.
I used to go when I was younger and then when I was married.
So you went with your boyfriends when you were younger, or
Oh, no.
family?
We didn't have boyfriends then.
Did you not? Why not?
No, we couldn't be bothered with them.
Really? But it was later on in your life. Did you go dancing at Belle Vue?
Yeah.
So you went to the Elizabethan and that, and Geraldo's orchestra was there, and Benelli and people like that.
Oh, we used to spend the day there on the Saturdays.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was you a dancer yourself?
I did a bit.
What, tango, foxtrot, that sort of stuff?
Oh, no, quick step, foxtrots, and
All right.
into some of the modern stuff.
Was it exciting that Saturday? Was you putting all your makeup on ready to...
yeah.
And the old funny tickle of excitement in your tummy waiting for it all to happen?
Yeah.
And it'd be a bit anticlimactic on the way home because it was all over.
It was a walk home. We had to walk.
Get off.
Buses.
Where did you live then?
In Middleton. I lived over Middleton Junction then.
So
and we
you...
used to have to walk.
I know Middleton Junction, near John Wheeler Lee's.
Yeah.
So you walked all the way from Belle Vue. It must have taken you an hour and a half to walk home. Who did you walk home with? Who did you walk home with?
My friend.
Did you have your arms linked to each other singing Johnny Ray?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because that's how they used to do it in the 50s, and I'm assuming it was the 50s, was it? About 60s?
Yeah, and we'd have a talk. If there was any lads on the road on the way, we'd have a talk to them and a laugh with them, and then we'd leave them and go on a bit more, you know.
Yeah. If you could turn the clock back and come with me in a time machine, would you like another fortnight back there?
Oh, I'd love it. I can't dance now, but I'd still love it.
Of course. You'd sit and watch and reminisce, wouldn't you?
Oh, I could still try a little bit, but I wouldn't be able to do it for long. 5 minutes and that would be me lot.
I know, I mean, I don't do any jiving or rock and rolling, but occasionally I go to the Nifty 50s Rock and Roll Club in Cheetham Hill, and it's just fun to sit down and watch other people having fun.
Still, can you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And as long as your foot's still tapping, you're still enjoying the music. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Do you know, I asked loads of people in my time machine, my hypothetical time machine, if I could come back. And, you know, nobody once has ever said no. Everybody would prefer to go back.
Those were the days, those were.
But why were those were the days? Because nobody had any money. We didn't really have what we call running water, did we?
You enjoyed yourself more. I don't know, the kids today, they don't seem to be able to enjoy themselves. They don't look for things to enjoy themselves. I mean, I went to Lincoln a few weeks ago, and where my sister lives, there's a lovely park at the back with a big lake and things like that. And we walked through it, and I said to my sister, I said, the kids would love it. When we were kids, we would be there making dens and things like that, and hiding out and playing games.
Yeah, and playing Truth, Dare, Kiss, Command, or Prompt in the den.
But they don't do that these days.
I bet you went to Eaton Park.
Yeah.
I bet you went round the lake on the Daisy Bell or the William Sharp. Do you remember the big
No, I didn't go on the big boats. I went on the little ones.
Oh, did you?
On the rowing boats.
Yeah, who did the rowing?
Well, whoever I was with.
Oh. So this was in your courtship days then?
Yeah.
So you do admit to having boyfriends?
Oh, we had on and off boyfriends. We didn't stay with them long, you know.
Okay.
If you was with them a fortnight, it was serious.
Hey, and when they put
wanting to go home and meet the parents,
yeah.
You know.
And when they put that ring on the finger, that's when they started asking you awkward questions, I believe. Would you like to remember some of those awkward questions that they asked you in those far-off days?
Not really.
You're not a bad judge, not on a Sunday anyway. Do you have any of your friends that missed that Sense of Place edition of the about Belle Vue? Do you think, I wonder if so-and-so heard that, or I wonder...
Well, I have got a couple of the girls that I did go with at the time. I do see occasionally, and we do have a good old reminisce.
Do you? Well, tell her to reminisce tomorrow after 9 o'clock in Gerald Jackson's show, because we're going to repeat that. And I don't know whether Gerald Jackson has a phone in, but it'd be nice to phone him with your memories, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, the one thing they can't take away from you is the golden days of the memories.
Did they tell you what I wanted to ask you?
No, they didn't tell me.
You were talking about the amusements and things at Belle Vue last week.
Yes.
And did you ever go on the Wall of Death?
Did I ever go on the Wall of Death? Can I just tell you something now? My granddad used to drive a steamroller on the Wall of Death.
Well, this was when they drove motorbikes.
Go on, why have you asked that?
At the time, there was 2 American boys on contract.
Yeah.
And me and my friend got very friendly with them.
Oh,
you know, we went out with them a couple of times. Yeah. And we was up on watching them on the Wall of Death.
Right.
And they asked us, did we want to ride on the front of the motorbike? Well, my friend wouldn't go on, but I did. I chanced it, but I'll tell you something. What? I'm frightened of heights now.
So you went on the Wall of Death?
Yes.
Blimey.
I must have been mad.
No, hey, listen, you've got a memory that you could have lunch for the rest of your life telling that story, couldn't you? That's what it's all about. Because you had to go, you got up and got counted.
I've never told many people about it, only my husband, you know.
Well, there's 250,000 know about it. There's 250,000 know about it now, Barbara, don't you? You've just told the entire Northwest.
I know.
Hey, Barbara, thanks.
I could tell some tales, but of people I know and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
But nobody would believe me.
I know, that's the trouble, because it happened. They don't believe it. They think you've made it up.
Well, when I went, we used to go wrestling. I went to see Ricky Starr, the last one
I remember him. He was a right poser. He came on as a ballet dancer, Ricky Starr, didn't he?
He wasn't so soft-handed when you got near him. I always used to sit near the front and play out with Jackie Pallow.
Oh, right. I got a letter off Bill Walford telling me about some of the wrestlers from there. And I was reading out. He said he used to go down Hyde Road down there, and let's have a look. There used to be a Union Jack on the back of his gown. That's it. Who's he talking about? Dear Mr. Phil, Union Jack on the back of his... His widow lives in Gowan Road, Whalley Range. The wrestling now. Oh, Bill MacDonald. Do you remember him?
No, I don't remember him.
Mr. Bill MacDonald, he used to wrestle there with a Union Jack.
We used to have a wrestler lived near us.
Yeah.
He's dead now. He was called the Golden Boy.
What's his wrestling name?
That was his name,
Just the Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Because I remember
His first name's Jack. I can't remember his second name.
Yeah, I remember Billy Two Rivers.
Yes, I remember Billy Two
vividly
Rivers.
in that American car.
Bula.
Yeah, Massamba. He's dead now, isn't he?
Is he?
Or is it Honey Boy Zimba that's dead? One of the black guys that used to wrestle's dead. Because Honey Boy Zimba and Massambula used to come on in leopard skin. Big black guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Good wrestler and all, too.
Because a friend of mine who I was with at the time, we were stood at the bar with him.
Yeah.
And he said to him, "Why did you submit?" He says, "Hey," he says, "Well, I've got to work next bloody week." He didn't want his arm breaking because he had to work.
Brilliant. Barbara, thanks for your memories, and above all, thanks for listening to BBC GMR. Listen to these sense of places. There's another 4 to come.
I listen to him on a Sunday morning for a few hours, and
Yeah.
listen to what goes on. And a lot of the things that you talk about, we remember.
Right.
Because I come from Manchester,
Yeah.
and some of the places I do remember,
Well, good girl, Barbara, and thanks for giving us your memories today. And stay tuned, won't you?
Yes, I will.
Cheers, love. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Our Barbara from Middleton there with her memories of the one and only Belle Vue. Johnny Roadhouse.
Hello.
Former BBC NDO musician, alto sax player, B-flat tenor sax player, baritone sax player, played with all the big bands in the world, made records, played with Sid Lawrence, played with Barney Davies, played with just about everybody. How are you?
Oh, hello, Fred. After all that, I think I'm making a comeback.
I think you should. What are your memories of Belle Vue, Johnny?
Well, first thing I say was in 1941, I started my career at Belle Vue. Fred Bonelli took me on.
Right.
Fred Bonelli was a band leader. His real name was Fred Evans, by the way. But Fred Bonelli took me on, and I played for nothing because I was a crap musician. I was a really bad musician. But it took me on because there was a shortage of men after being called up from the war, etc.,
Right.
So it took me on playing for now to learn. After 3 months, he came up to me and said, he said, "Here's 15 shillings. I said, "What's that for?" He said, "Well, when you came to me, you weren't worth much to me as a musician, just a body on the stand." He said, "But now you've become of use to me, and I get paid like the rest." That was great.
This is in your book, Sacks of Gold, isn't it?
Oh, probably. I can't remember. But the other thing I was trying to mention is you've been talking about Belle Vue and all that sort of thing, but nobody's ever mentioned how it started. Well, about 10 years ago, a bit more, I was knocking about with a girl called Geraldine Wright from Canada.
Yeah.
Or maybe 20 years ago, I can't remember, it's quite a long time ago now. And her father was a war hero, First World War war hero, and his decorations had been overlooked. And they brought him back. He used to go into no man's land on a gun carriage collecting injured bodies and things and soldiers and bringing them back, and he got his decoration, but it was never awarded to him. Anyway, someone found it out and they sort of sent for him to Canada after brought him over. He was about to late 80s.
Yeah.
Anyway, they brought him over to he was a father of this Geraldine that I used to knock around with, and it was at the barracks just round the corner from Belle Vue. There was a barracks there. I don't know if it still is. Anyway, he said he remembers Belle Vue, how it started.
Yeah, the barracks is still there. I think that's on Gordon Lane. It's still there, the barracks, sure.
Oh, well, that's what he was associated with that, and they brought him back to issue the decoration there officially.
Yeah.
He was on radio, television, etc. Anyway, he told me about in the early days of before Belle Vue started, a man with a horse and cart and a cage on the back used to pull up around the area with his horse and cart, and he had a lion in this cage and a tarpaulin over it, and he used to charge a penny a look, and he used to take this tarpaulin off, let them all have a look, and then put it back on again until the next crowd arrived, and he earned his living that way. And that is the way Belle Vue Zoo started.
You're a grand lad, Johnny Roadhouse, and thanks for bringing back those memories.
Now, I'd love to get anybody's other person's opinion on that, because I was told by this chap, and I really believed him because he was a genuine hero, and he won't be with us now, I'm afraid, because he was well into his 80s then. So, but any of your listeners will probably have some views on this. It might be interesting to find out.
Well, listen to this, Johnny. On Belle Vue, remember, there's a grand reunion with Buffet at the George Lawton Hall, Stamford Street, Mosley. That's on Saturday, November the 9th, 2002, from 7:30 till midnight. Tickets are £20, including Buffet.
Right.
If anybody's interested in tickets, if you ring 0161682 0067 and get in touch with Derek Adrian, that is the night that they're all going to be talking about things like that, and I hope you're going to be there on the night, because I'm going to go.
Right, well, I'll be seeing you before then, hopefully.
Good lad. Johnny, look after yourself and give my regards to your bird.
She's here. Say hello, quick.
Hello, Fred.
Hello, Anna. How are you, love?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'll see you again. Keep well.
My bird says cheerio. Thank you very much, Fred.
Cheers, Johnny. Bye-bye. Johnny Roadhouse. What about that, Bobby? Smashing days.